So, right then, boys and girls, Wowhead Economy Weekly Wrap Up number 192. Getting very, very close to that 200 mark now. Ways alts can help with gold making. I think this is going to be a good one, as people tend to have a reasonable amount of alts nowadays. Rarely do I talk to somebody and they've only got like one or two alts. Sorry, most people end up with like 3, 4, 5 alts already. Shadowlands is proving to be relatively quick and easy to level up in, but it's obviously not super. I wouldn't say it's super alt friendly yet, although there are obviously some changes coming in patch 9.1.5 regarding alts, making it easier to manage them, easier to deal with them. But let's see what we've got for this one. Firstly, we got to give a shout out, of course, to our good friend Samadan. He puts this little article together for us every week. It gets posted up on the Wowhead blog. The link to the blog, if you want to read through it with your own eyes in your own time, I'll leave in the description down below. Table of contents for this week. The time for alts is nigh. Some alternative legendary leveling, and then cracking the code of node spawns, and then some further reading for those that want to dive a bit deeper. So the time for alts is nigh. Exciting times lie ahead with the announcement of patch 9.1.5 and the PTR being updated very soon. This week, in fact, I believe. We should have 9.1.5 on the PTR to play around with very, very soon. Plethora of change. I love that word, plethora. The plethora of changes means we'll be in the age of the alt. There are many things that you can do with an alt army for the purpose of goal making, so here's a few suggestions. Mission tables. This has been a bit of a favourite of the channel. Ever since I put a video out highlighting one of my regular viewers, they tracked a bunch of data of their mission table. They'd put a lot of time and effort into leveling up their mission table, and then they were tracking just what the rewards were from that mission table. I think if I remember right, they tracked it over the period of about a week and resulted in best part of 100,000 gold worth of stuff. Now, not all of that stuff was straight up raw gold, but a lot of that stuff was materials, augment runes, pet charms, reputation tokens, which by the time you amass 10,000 rep, you get the Paragon box. Paragon boxes, of course, usually contain sort of 3,000 to 4,000 gold in them, just raw gold, so they've got to be considered valuable. And of course, now people are getting into leveling up all their alts and getting the mission tables on all of their alts. And some people are taking it to extreme levels, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So these have the potential to be incredibly lucrative, especially if you put the time into setting them up. Almost as good as Garrisons back in the day. Any of you that played in Warlords of Draenor will remember that the Garrison back then was just a bit of a money printing machine, especially if you're doing it on multiple characters. They take a fair amount of preparation. Getting to 60 first, unlocking the extra companions through the campaign and Torghast, and additionally upgrading the Sanctum and spending time leveling all of the companions and unlocking even the mission table campaign quests themselves. However, though, once done, the rewards are many and varied, from just raw gold, like we talked about earlier, to materials, items to disenchant, or even pet charms to collect, to buy and sell those pets. There are a couple of add-ons. There's a favourite one of everybody's called Venture Plan, which unfortunately is still the main creator of the Venture Plan add-on is still taking a break and is not directly updating their version of the add-on themselves. We'll talk about that in a minute. There is also one called Covenant Mission Helper, which was definitely not as... let's put it this way, it wasn't as good as Venture Plan, but it still works. So based on that, it's a good go-to add-on to use as well. They can be used at the same time. They're both designed to help with arranging the troops that you use to give you the best success chance on the missions. Venture Plan, you can add the followers you want, and then the add-on will add the troops as needed and position them all to give the best success rate. There's a second, even with the second add-on for 9.1 missions, which was also mentioned by other commenters, I found that Venture Plan results can be unreliable sometimes with them. So Covenant Mission Table shows the results, and its predictions are pretty good. Covenant mission table can also change the position of the followers, but it doesn't add troops. So as you can see, there's some limitations on both of them, right? If you just download the default venture plan, unfortunately, by default at least, it doesn't work fantastically well for patch 9.1 missions, but it's going to work perfectly fine for everything prior to that. Arguably, when you're leveling up your followers, you just want to be churning through the big experience, the bonus XP ones. This is where Venture Plan is still perfectly good at that. It has a 99% success rate. When it says it's going to win, you should win. It's only on the new missions that have been added in patch 9.1 where it's a bit rocky, but this Covenant Mission Helper also seems to help with it. So both these add-ons in conjunction is probably a good setup to have if you want to really sort of try min-max the mission table. Now, I'm not totally comfortable talking about it in too much detail on this, but there are ways to update the original Venture Plan add-on to give you support for patch 9.1, but it's not through the original add-on author. Third-party people have come together, a bit of a community effort has gone into upgrading it. There's a separate new add-on that taps into the original Venture Plan. It's a bit of a hack, and if I'm honest, there's some slight issues because it's using one add-on and you have to kind of break it's dodgy, but if you do look into it, you can update Venture Plan to support 9.1 missions more so than what it comes out of the box, but I'll leave you to work out how to do that yourself. There are some people out there though, such as our good friend Zanzaful, who is doing some pretty ridiculous things regarding the mission table. He's started himself a challenge, so using his words, recently started a challenge for myself where I'm going to be setting up 50 characters at level 60 with fully set up mission tables at rank 3 through the Covenant Sanctum. Yes, this sounds crazy, and yes, it will take a while. So far, I'm up to 8 characters with companion levels, not fully maxed out yet, but certainly getting there. Wanted to properly see just how much I'm getting daily, so doing a 1-week test to see how much they can provide in the future. Made a little spreadsheet. We all love ourselves a good spreadsheet, so you guys can see the first 2 days of writing down the data. So far, it's looking very promising. So there's a little spreadsheet of Zanzaful's tracking of everything. Feel free to do some of this yourself as well. The more data we can get on this, the better of an idea of just how lucrative this mission table can be. But Zanzaful also plans to do full guides on his YouTube channel, so go check that out. Drop him a sub, and we'll stay tuned for a little guide on that one. So, Korthite Crystals, the next topic of conversation, how to make gold with your alts. Korthite Crystals have been a reasonably good one for people that have got lots of alts in patch 9.1. Doing this, just even the basic things in Korthia on those alts can often net you a reasonable amount of Korthite Crystals. Blizzard recently upped the quantity that you get from the Shaping Fate quest alone to, I think, 5. So even doing the bare minimum on your alts can usually turn a nice amount of these supposedly rare materials. You can run your alt army through the dailies in Korthia, pick up the Korthite crystals, and then sell them on the auction house. Also nets you a decent amount of anima to then feed back into the mission tables for those alts, so it's a bit of a win-win situation. Korthite crystals are crashing in price ridiculously though. Some realms out there, I've seen them as low as like 150 gold a piece. They're pretty ridiculously cheap now. Some places. The bigger realms are holding their prices slightly better, but I think that's probably because on the bigger realms there's more people actually buying the end product, which is the rank 5 and 6 base legendaries. So, but get your alts out in Korthia, get some easy Korthite crystals, get them on the auction house, and you'll be a bit richer for doing so. Filling out professions is another good one. If you haven't done so already, having at least one of every profession leveled gives you a wide choice of markets to sell in, and this is perfect for those with a small number of alts. There's not a huge amount of daily cooldowns in Shadowlands, but things like the Shadestone for alchemy might be viable on some servers if you have additional alts that can do the rep grind easily enough. The Shadestone pattern for Alchemists, you need Honoured with the, what's it called? Chat, help me out here. The little faction in Revendreth, I can't remember its name at the moment, but you only need to be Honoured with your Alchemist to get the Shadestone pattern. The Avowed, that's the ones, thank you. So if you can get Honoured with the Avowed, you can pick up the Shadestone recipe. If you choose Shaping Fate as your leveling path, you can go over there and you can start chipping away at that from sort of like low level 50s. I've heard people get level 51, level 52 with enough reputation on their alchemists to pick up the Shadestone to start doing their daily cooldown on it. It's quite a seasonal item, the Shadestone. You're going to find it peaks in demand when the raid is freshly out. Once people stop raiding, it does drop in value quite heavily. But get prepared, get up and running, ready for the next raid. There's always a new raid around the corner. Finally, there are Garrisons. This one surprises me. There are a lot of people that played in the days of Warlords of Draenor and still remember the Garrisons to be an absolute cash cow. All the more frequently, I should say, do I see people popping into the Discord, jumping into the WoW Economy subreddit, saying, "Are Garrisons still a thing?" Blizzard has pretty much squished most of the gold making in the Garrisons at this point, which I think is only fair, right? The content, let's be real here, the Garrisons are, they're probably not far off 10 years old at this point. Garrisons have a long ago thing now, but there are still some lucrative stuff in there. Somebody's, who'd be this? Our Commander Bond has pleaded to Warcraft to consider rolling back some of the changes to the Draenor Garrison that have happened over the past year. Reducing the effectiveness of the Barn Follower, the award from the Bloody Purse. Bloody Purse, for example, used to give you just like 50 raw gold. Simple. And then they nerfed it down to like 3 gold or something, which basically makes it worthless. The benefit of Gore Pedal's gloves or the XP awarded from mining, gardening serves no purpose. All that it did was force players with significant time investments in their setup to leave the place of certainty and security for portions of the game less so. Well, see, I both agree and disagree with this a little bit. I'm happy to see the Garrisons be squished, and I know why Blizzard squished the Garrisons. Is because if people are going to, basically from Blizzard's point of view, if you're going to want very simple raw gold, easy farming methods, they would rather you do that in Shadowlands. They'd rather you pick up a herbalist or a miner and go out and spend time in what are the current zones. Having everybody locked away in their garrison is realistically not great for the game. It is a bit of a kick in the teeth though to those that have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort leveling up their garrisons and getting everything set up on multiple characters. But times do change. This is the risk we take. This is also going to be the risk that we'll take if we spend a lot of time leveling up our mission table in Shadowlands. That it only takes Blizzard, to flick a switch to just kill the profitability of something, and then we have to move on to whatever is the next best and greatest option. With Garrisons being so old at this point, I don't feel too bad about them nerfing the Garrisons into the ground. It's very social. The Garrisons, super social environment for sure. Pikestaff has said that Garrisons have been nerfed pretty hard overall since the start of Shadowlands. The Alchemist Stone Vendor Shuffle was also hit too. For reference, you used to be able to make Alchemist Stones and then for very, very cheap using a Scribe Hut, I think. Or maybe the Alchemist Hut, sorry, that would make more sense, wouldn't it? And then just literally give them to a vendor and that was it. But that's been squished. I think the vendor value of the Alchemist Trinket's been dumpstered. These days I only bother with it for Hexweave bags. Still a very solid seller for some reason. We've speculated why Hexweave bags are a thing. I think it's simple. I think it's because they're epic. They're purple. People like their purples. They would rather have purple bags even if they have lesser inventory space just because they're epic. I don't know, it doesn't really make a huge sense, but Hexweave bags do still sell. Checking the mission table for the Medallion of the Legion, which, if I remember right, was the rep token, 1,000 rep for the factions. I might be wrong on that one. And of course the Cold Fist Gronling, which was the mount that you could get through the mission table. These things are super cheap on the auction house most places though, so don't expect to get rich off these even if you do find one. In collecting the free garrison resources to swap out whatever raw material is selling with the most consistency. It used to be true iron ore, but now the market seems to have dried up recently. I think true iron ore was a good one because I think it went into making Goblin Gliders. And of course with Shadowlands being we were grounded for a long time. And especially when we get into Korthia, there was a big spike in demand for Goblin Gliders. It tends to happen at the beginning of most expansions before we can fly. But True Iron goes into Gliders, which is, yes, money in the bank on the Goblin Gliders if you can get your True Iron ore relatively cheap, or trade some of your other Warlords of Draenor resources for the True Iron ore using the special vendor that turns up every few days. If you have an alchemist, you can look into the transmorphic tincture is selling. It requires crescent oil from crescent saberfish flesh and some frostweed, which you can get from the resource trainer and the garden. I was expecting the market to dry up with the free gender swap availability at the barber. Oh, it was an item that allows you to change your character's Okay, sure. Fair enough. It allows you to switch your gender, apparently. I was totally unaware that this was even a thing. But apparently, yeah, it's still a thing. You can still sell these through the garrison as well. And then a little bonus if you're Horde. The garrison is right next to Nok Karosh mob, which you can kill for the Garn Night Howl mount, which you can then put on the auction house. Since it's a very easy mount to obtain, it doesn't go for more than a few hundred gold, but hey, it's a few hundred gold you didn't have before, and it adds up if you kill the mob regularly. That's why Garn Night Howl is always so cheap. That makes sense now. That makes sense. This is what happens when you play Alliance for a million years. You miss out on these little Horde wizardry tricks. But that's quite cool. That's quite cool. So there are still some things that you can use the garrison for, but I would consider the garrison to be a fallback option. Do it in your spare time, but maybe prioritize your time on something a little bit more lucrative, especially if you're short on time. You can never buy more time, so you want to spend it efficiently where you can. So last thing I think in this little section of alts is feeding other players alts. So also don't forget that many players are leveling their alts, and there's plenty of opportunities to sell those new characters gear either during their leveling process or when they hit certain checkpoints. Level 50 is a good one because you've got the item level 87 gear, which is made using the novice crafters marks. Technically, when you hit, level 55, you unlock the item level 117 gear, but it's a lot more challenging to sell that as most people skip it. But then the second you hit level 60, Crafter's Mark 3 is the most attractive now, as it makes gear that is item level 200. You can literally ding 60, go straight to the auction house and buy an entire set of gear that will push your item level to 200, which is very, very helpful on alts. And many people will see the 10, 20, 30,000 gold investment in doing that. Gold well spent. So yes, if you have access to Crafter's Mark 3 on your professions, keep some of the gear on the auction house. Don't craft huge amounts of it. Craft enough to keep it on there. Maybe do a restock once or twice a week. Heck, if you're on a big server, you might even be able to focus on the Crafter's Mark 3 gear and still turn a lot of gold from it. But it's all designed for alts, right? This item level 200 gear was never designed for people's main characters. It was entirely designed so that those freshly dinged level 60s have access to some gear that's more appropriate to the content that's readily available. It's going to be interesting to see in patch 9.2 if they build upon this any further. We've already got Crafter's Mark 3 and Crafter's Mark of the Chained Isle, which you could almost consider Crafter's Mark 4. Let's see if they have any more in the future. An alternative legendary leveling system. With the price of Korthite crystals dropping faster than Khadgar on the dance floor. Oh, what a phrase. Love me that. I've put out a little update to my cheat sheet to calculate when it will be profitable to start crafting with the earlier ranks using the Vestige of Origins. Right, this is my opportunity to do a little bit of a sellout for those that didn't watch the video, maybe missed it. My cheat sheet has had I wouldn't necessarily say a complete overhaul, but it's definitely had a facelift. I've updated the cheat sheet very recently. Not only is it now got this sort of dark mode theme to it, a lot of people complained that it was too bright, too garish. Everybody uses dark mode everything nowadays. So I grayed out the background. I've also put a little menu of the different sheets and what they do and why you should be using them. But the big things, for the purpose of this at least, is the updated legendary crafting sheets. So one for each armor proficiency. So there's cloth, there's leather, there's mail, there's plate, and then there's the jewellery. But I've updated all of this for patch 9.1 and to include the Vestige of Origins. What it will now do is it will now pop up this little info for you as and when the price is right. If you get your Korthite crystals cheap enough, which is entirely possible now, way more possible than it ever used to be, you can start to see that you should actually be crafting rank 1s with your Vestiges to make cheap rank 3s and cheap rank 4s. Rank 4s especially, the big one that we're interested in. Rank 4s are usually the ones that sell not only consistently, but also more often than not with a good profit on them as well. So if you can be crafting stuff and selling it profitably whilst leveling up your legendaries, or your legendary professions, should I say, it's a massive bonus and you should absolutely be doing it. So yeah, if you haven't already, get yourself the new updated version of the cheat sheet. It'll be well worth your time. If not, maybe on your current characters that you've maybe done this, but if you say, for example, venture to a new realm, re-roll on a new server to play with some new friends, or just purely to expand your operation, you're probably going to look at leveling up these professions again at some point. So feel free to use the sheet. For reference, the cheat sheet is always available in my Discord. It's pinned in the Discord. I can probably show you. Why not? Why would I not? So, for example, in the Discord, if you jump into the Manthieus Coffee Club Discord, on the left-hand side, you've got the free resources section. The cheat sheet is available here, and the most common, the most up-to-date version is always pinned here. And I try to keep people updated with what I've changed in the cheat sheet as well. So that's yours. Go use it. Have fun. There's my there's my little sellout out the way. So yes, if you're still looking to finish off leveling those legendaries, consider that there might be a slightly cheaper, not only cheaper, but also profitable way to do it now, which is very nice because, you know, legendaries were expensive. Next on our list though, cracking the code of node spawns. Please hold. Cheeky lunch delivery there, can't complain, can we? Cracking the code of node spawns. Reckles, or commonly known as Want to Buy Gold, has made a little bit of a return to his gold making after a small hiatus. And he's been doing some interesting research on exactly how the nodes spawn in Shadowlands. It appears now, this little image sort of suggests that the nodes tend to be grouped together and clustered. They're not just completely dotted around and completely random. So you can actually force spawn certain nodes. So the green triangle, if you pick up, there should always be one of the options available. So you can see there's 3 little triangles, a green one, a red one, and a blue one. If you fly around this area, there should, in theory at least, always be one spawn of each of these coloured triangles. which is kind of cool for when it comes to planning your routes and how you optimize your farming. It's often way more efficient to fly in a smaller circle if you can get something to force spawn than it is to fly all the way around a big old map. So this is not very obvious in game, and it's often very difficult to sort of diagnose, so it takes people a lot of time and effort to work these things out. So make sure you go over to Want to Buy Gold's channel. If you're not already subscribed, you absolutely should be. Give him a sub, or maybe hit him up on Twitter and say thank you, because this is some interesting work here. It'll be nice to see him put a video together of explaining all of this, but it's, for me at least, for somebody that doesn't do a lot of farming, it's intriguing to see just how Blizzard are still iterating on how they populate the world. Back in the day, maybe it was always this way and we just didn't realize it, but back in the day it always just felt like there was a, they would vomit a bunch of nodes onto the map and that was kind of it. But there's obviously a lot of logic and a lot of planning that is going into where the nodes are positioned, how many there should be, how they respawn. So it's kind of cool to see it being broken down and for us to start to like truly understand it. So yeah, kind of cool to see. But that was the Wowhead Weekly Economy for this week. If you want to do a little bit of further reading, you can head over to the WoW Economy subreddit. Very quiet over there recently, probably due to the drop in player base recently. The WoW Economy subreddit is very, very quiet recently, but if you do have questions and you're on Reddit, it's a good place to go and investigate. And of course there is the Discord server as well for WoW Economy. You can go over and check them out. There's a good place to get any support for TSM and stuff like that as well. You can catch Samadan streaming live on his Twitch channel, or of course you can go say hi to him over on Twitch. So once again, thank you Samadan for the report. It was a good one this week. There was plenty of stuff to be talking about. Alts is going to be a hot topic of conversation as patch 9.1.5 is bringing a lot more alt friendliness to the game. And if it's more friendly for the mass player base, there's often some very good gold making opportunities there. But I'll leave it there for today's video, boys and girls. If you enjoy this kind of video, remember to give the video a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.